The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so excited for today's episode.
Wait, Mackenzie, I have to tell you something funny. So my mom is an avid listener. Thank you for your support, Mom.
I love her. Thank you, Heidi.
We love Heidi. She called me after the episode and she was like, Hannah, I learned something from you today. So my mom is dating. So is my dad. They're both hot. If anybody's, single and wants to date them. And she was like, so I've been on Bumble, but I didn't know that women had to message the men first. So I've just been sitting here with all these matches. Like, why does no one want to talk to me?
Oh, no. Poor Heidi.
And then I know. And she's like, well, poor Heidi. She probably has like a million matches. But then she's like, and then does it cost money for them to extend the match? And I was like, I think sometimes, yeah. She's like, oh, I've had a lot of men extend and I didn't say anything. And I was like, you. So now she knows to write them first. It is working on her intro message, but I thought that was so funny. So hopefully we've helped anyone who wasn't sure why they weren't getting any responses on,
I would
any
be like
conversations on Bumble.
I could only imagine like that would be me, and I'd be like, no one wants to talk to me. That's it. I'm too
Everyone
ugly.
hates
Like,
me.
No one cares. Everyone hates me. Oh, poor Heidi. I'm so glad she figured that out.
I know. We really are doing the Lord's work here. Also, I'm sick. Sorry if I sound disgusting. Just one.
You sound awful, like terrible.
Yeah.
But you still look hot.
Thank you. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. We don't care how you sound. You still look hot. It's fine. Well, Heidi, I'm glad that we were able to help you figure that out. Thank you for listening. So, are you ready to hear some of the answers that we were able to get for Miss Erica?
I'm dying
about
to hear
Simon.
What you found.
I know that everybody is like super, super excited about this episode because you guys have had a lot to say about Erica's story.
Well, we'll ask her a lot of the questions you commented. And yeah, I just loved everybody writing us and being like, we want to know.
If you haven't heard Erica's story, go back to last week's episode. It's called The Origin Story. It's the whole story that that started the whole idea for the dating detective. So go listen to it, listen to her story. And then today we're getting some answers. Go binge it.
Yes. If you haven't left yet, you're going to spoil it.
Okay, let's bring her on. Are you ready to hear from Erica? Let's go. Let's get her in here.
Welcome back, Erica.
Welcome back. Oh man, I can't I'm really excited.
Hey, I'm so excited to be back.
So you don't know what Mackenzie has found, and nor do I. But Mackenzie is sitting here squirming.
I am itching to hear.
I'm on my hands. There's a lot.
Oh my God. Okay, so yes, everybody, if you've made it to this point in the episode and still have not heard Erica's full story, go back and listen. But Erica, you forgot something. You said that there's a part of the story that we need to hear that you forgot. So go for it.
This is just, I had to tell you guys because I remembered it too late, obviously. Didn't make it into the episode, but
that's okay. There was a lot to remember.
Yes.
He did a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot.
In a short time span. How long did you date again? It was 2 months?
It was literally 2 months. Yeah. So there was a lot. I mean, this situation happened after he had already told me he moved and all of that. It was kind of when we had still been talking. If you guys remember from the last episode, I had talked to him a little bit after he supposedly moved. Yeah, exactly. But so I get this not text, obviously. It's an Instagram DM, which we've talked about. So I get an Instagram DM from him, and he was, trying to kind of get back together, see me again, all of this stuff. And his kind of way of schmoozing me or trying to butter me up was, he was like, I don't really remember a lot of our relationship, but all I remember is I was falling in love with you. And
Okay.
I asked him why he didn't remember. He comes up with this story, which we don't know is true, obviously, that he fell off his bike on the Google campus because, they bike on the Google campus.
Oh, sure.
And he fell off his bike and hit his head and got amnesia. So he...
Did he go to the Google hospital and get a Google Band-Aid?
I'm sure he did. So then after he tells me that, I'm like, so what does that have to do with me? And why are you, again, that doesn't really go back to my point of why you're reaching out. And then he said, I don't remember much of our relationship. I just remember I was falling in love with you.
What the hell?
And I'm like,
that's not insulting at all. It's fine.
Right.
But also a bullshit lie.
A bullshit lie.
In my opinion.
That's when I said in the first episode too, it was kind of entertaining to talk to him. And this is case in point. I couldn't believe it.
What did you say?
I just was like, well, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I remember it. And I remember it being kind of bad and toxic.
Would you say you remembered it
being bad
all too well? This is giving all too well.
All too well 10-minute version. Yeah, I just told him that's not happening.
So this fella has amnesia. He doesn't remember nothing.
Mm-hmm. I feel like what an easy cop out. Yeah, exactly. What an easy cop out of just being like, well, we were falling in love, but I don't remember.
Because I got amnesia. I can't.
Maybe you can refresh his memory about some of the things that were going on in his life, Mackenzie, because it sounds like you know more about his dirty deeds than he might even remember.
So let's talk about this, right? So this case was a little bit harder to crack only because it's harder to prove something didn't happen than something that did, right? So it's hard to prove. Like when you're looking for something, it's like, okay, am I just not finding it or does it not exist? And so that's where there's a lot more in-depth research involved, which is why this case was so hard. And so that's what we're going to find out a little bit about.
I am so excited. I have so many questions for you.
So what were the main questions that you had? Like, what were the main concerns?
I go back to the basics. Like, was his name his real name that he told me? Does he actually have those little blonde kids that he showed me as well?
Okay, so I have great news.
Okay.
His name is real.
Whoa!
What?
That is surprising.
His name is real.
How should we just jump in? Can you go through your entire process, like how you verify this?
So yes and no. I happen to be a Google coder also.
Yeah, same. And I'm the president.
You coded the internet.
I coded the internet. So I was able to cross-reference his name with a picture. So it is definitely him.
Wait, I'm sorry. I know you can't tell us everything, but what do you mean? Like you found a picture where?
So
I'm going to dig as deep as I can.
So there are resources available that are not, most of them are public records, some of them are not, that I was able to obtain, and that's all I'll say.
Okay, so a PI could figure out if your name is your name, is what we are learning.
Yes. And we did get like a confirmed picture of him. So I do know that this guy, it is his name. So his name is for realsies, like that's his name.
That makes me feel better.
That is shocking because that was one of the number one things our audience was commenting is that they didn't think his name was his name. A lot of people were like, his name is probably one of the names listed on the YouTube credits, but not one that you thought. Like people were really, that was the first thing everyone was like, nah, this guy's another person.
That is his real name. So the audience can rest assured that is his real name. But like, also, I feel like if you're going to lie about that much stuff, maybe he should have used a different name because, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon. I'm just being honest.
Right. I mean, along with the audience, I'm also surprised because of just so much stuff that he came up with. I wouldn't have been surprised either if that was not his real name. So
Yeah,
good to know, though.
that's a lot. But the kids, so here's the thing with the kids.
Mm.
I am unable to prove that any children exist that he is the father of, right? That does not necessarily mean they don't exist, but I am unable to prove that it exists at all. So most of the time, anything that has to do with the minor is pretty locked up tight when it comes to any kind of records, but I was unable to find anything that I was unable to find his name on a birth certificate anywhere or anything like that. So as far as I know, the kids don't exist, but that doesn't mean they don't. I'm just, one thing I hate to do as a PI is assume or presume anything, but it's just something I couldn't verify or confirm 100%.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That minors have more locked up info. That's a good thing.
Okay, so we addressed his name. His name is real.
Kids are a question mark.
I'm unable to confirm nor deny the children, but that's usually pretty typical. But if there's any kind of like a legal situation with kids, that would normally show, and it would show like a third, like another party, like, this is a family. It like on records, it would show like this person and this person, and and then it involves kids because it'll say like family or something like that, and I can't find anything like that.
Okay.
What do you think, Erica? Do you think he has kids? Like, to me, my gut is kind of like that one. I believe.
I believed it pretty easily because he was very open about the amount of women he has had sex with before.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
He had said he had slept with like over 100 women. So statistically, there was probably a baby out of there. It's just my odds.
His odds were not in
he
his
probably
favor.
has a lot of baby mamas.
Right.
Possibly.
That he may or might not know of as well. So who knows? And also, who knows if he was even telling the truth on that video or to me. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he sounds like the type who might inflate his count there, but also the type who would be growing weed far away from his children.
Right.
Like I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
And it didn't sit well with my friends either. That's why they also were like, ask about the children again, because
what about the children?
Exactly.
Well, but sometimes men will use they'll say they have kids to make them sound a little bit more like mature or more responsible. Like, oh, I have kids. And then you're like, oh, he's a loving parent. He's a loving man. And sometimes it might just be their niece or their nephew, but they're saying it's their kids. But sometimes that's just to make themselves look better too.
Right. No, definitely. So who knows along that front, but good to know that his name was real.
What's next? What else do we want to know?
There was a lot of colleges he told me he went to, so I'm curious about those. Oh,
nope. Nope.
All right, take us through.
Oh my God.
So
where did you start?
Listen. So like I said, it's harder to prove something didn't happen. So what I'm saying is he could be telling the truth. He's not. He could be telling the truth, but there is no record on any of the schools in any of the states that he listed that he ever attended a college or university, state school, or even a private school in his post-secondary education.
Oh my God.
And generally speaking, you can find record of people who have graduated from schools.
Yeah, generally you can Google that. Like you can literally look that up online. I was unable to find any documentation of him at all whatsoever on any school roster, any participation of any kind, any graduation, any kind of class roster, I did not find his name on any roster for any school anywhere at all, but specifically for where he listed he went to school.
That is mind-boggling, especially because his name is real. So you would think it would show up somewhere on something.
Yeah, and he ain't telling the truth.
Absolutely not.
What about his being a sniper in the
Yeah,
what was he in the Marines?
In the Marines.
How do you find that out?
Nope.
Wait, don't. Okay. Oh my
I'm sorry,
God.
I don't know how it's like. I don't know to break the news
Tell
to
us
you.
how you find it out.
You can.
I know.
There's
I almost
no.
want you to like tell us the journey and then be like, and the verdict is no.
So okay. So there's a lot of resources that I have that is. So I'll be completely honest with you, private investigators usually have even a lot more access to records than law enforcement does, but I take that back. It's not that we have more access. It's that we have more legal access, which means like we don't need certain reasons to access certain things, whereas law enforcement might need a warrant or something like that. So I'm bound by a different set of regulations. I could find no proof whatsoever that this guy was ever in the military. No, I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying there's no proof of it that exists anywhere. Usually if there's someone that was in the military, you can find some kind of documentation that there was a discharge or there was something, there was an article, anything that would say, oh yeah, this backs up their claim for this or whatever. But there's nothing that lists that. And if you're in the military and you know something I don't, let me know. Like if there's some kind of like secret page or whatever you guys have, let me know. I need that resource. But as far as I can find, there is nothing for this guy listed as a military resource at all whatsoever. Unless he just like, maybe he went to basic training and like dropped out. I don't know, but I would still even be able to find that. And I didn't.
If you can't find something, then a average Joe definitely can't. Like, you are just so good at sleuthing and have so many more resources than the rest of us.
The problem is just because you don't find it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? So that's where there's like this doubt. That's where there's this little inkling of, well, it could be true, you just didn't find it. Whereas if he says like, oh, I've never been married before, and you find like a record showing he's been married 3 times, then it's like, oh, you lied because I found this, this, and this. But when you don't find something, that's the biggest struggle with this case, was that everything that he said you cannot find. But I did find some things, and I can prove, the opposite. But there are some of these things there's no proof of it anywhere. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it's just benefit of the doubt. But there's like too much that in my opinion, there's too much that I couldn't find to make it not a coincidence, or to make it a coincidence.
We also can prove that you cannot Google code the internet. Like, we know that's not a thing. So if that's his proof for the fact, he's like, well, you can't find anything because I took it off the internet. It's like, no, honey. No, honey. Not how that works. So
you don't just take things off that's ridiculous.
Hilarious.
He also mentioned that he owned the house that he was in and his car as well. Did we find that information out?
Nope. That I can confirm. So this I can confirm with 100%, he does not own the house. The house actually does belong to the father. He said, I own this house and I just live in the back to give it to my dad or whatever.
And I let my dad stay in the...
Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
Saint Simon.
I could have told you that. Like the day she said it, I was like, I don't know. But like, no, he does not own the house. He didn't own a car. Like none of it was his. And I think it wasn't, well, it wasn't even, first of all, the car, the dad owns that one too. But there was another vehicle on his report, but that also did not belong to him. And as far as I could tell, he's never owned any home or any car at any time that has ever been in his name.
That is crazy, because he told me he like bought that car like it was new. He bought it. He was excited about it. Wow. Liar.
His dad bought it.
Oh, thanks, Daddy.
Somebody bought it, but it wasn't him.
I have so many thoughts about the process of a liar. Like, I mean, I guess I want to know if he was hiding something, but if he wasn't and he was just a compulsive liar, it's like so interesting that people, I get it. I guess it's like a pride thing. You want to seem like you own a house. You want to seem like you bought a car. You want to seem like you have a 400 degrees under your belt and 2 kids and are only barely, how old was he again? Like
27?
Yeah. Unreal. What are you, a freaking prodigy? Like, were you in college at 12?
That's what he was kind of giving, was I'm so smart. Well, I can code the internet.
Yeah, he is the internet. Love it. a lot of the stuff he was lying about definitely does also like make him seem like Saint Simon, as we said, like this hero, like where he was taking care of his mom, right? And then this YouTube lawsuit. So that stuff I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, did you find anything?
Yeah. So we used ancestry.com to find his birth certificate. So we found his mom. Once we found his mom, we were able to find out that she's a successful woman. Like she has a home and a successful business, and like she's doing normal things, like regular stuff on the internet, just a normal
so
human
she's
being.
taking care of herself and has a career and doesn't
like
necessarily need
she's
his
not
support.
she's not being cared for by anyone that we can tell. Like she's not it made it seem like she's not able to take care of herself, but she does.
Yeah, he basically said like she's too mentally ill and like he has to drive up there and see her, but by the sounds of it, that's not the case at all.
Well, and we like obviously we can't speak to her in her mental wellness or whatever, but I mean, she just seems based on paper. Obviously, we don't know her, but on paper, she looks like she's pretty good to go. Like she looks pretty, so we can only assume, but that's based on what we found about her. It sounds like
so you found. Can I ask, what was her like career? Can we say?
Yeah, so I kind of want to, just for the sake of anonymity, I don't want to say like specifics, but she is a small business owner and her LinkedIn is like current, it's up to date, it's active. Like she's a successful small business owner. Like she's doing the damn thing.
Wow. Yeah. So she's a functioning human.
Basically, the way that he made it sound is not the way that it is on.
It is.
On paper,
he made it sound like she was completely helpless.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like you can. I mean, it doesn't take. We don't want to assume, but it doesn't take a rocket surgeon. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're holding down a career, a job, you are mentally able in some way to be able to do that. So yeah, he made it seem like she needed so much help.
I think that this guy really wanted to impress you with like all these great things, like, yeah, I own this house. And basically everything he said was not true, like not any of it.
So along the same vein of him trying to make himself look like a hero, that he's saving everyone, Saint Simon, as we were calling him, was the YouTube lawsuit also real? Or was that, I mean, not also real, also a lie, I should say. Or did that have any truth to it?
There was no record of any lawsuit for him at all. Like there's no record of any kind of legal recourse, any kind of civil litigation, anything like that regarding YouTube or anything else.
There's a funny comment that somebody left about this lawsuit from Creepy Craft Lover. They wrote, all I'm going to say is, how can you claim to work for G company, for Google, and claim you went against YouTube, which is owned by Google, the company
That's what
he
I'm
works
saying.
for.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're like, he'd be canned faster than Starkist tuna.
I saw that comment. He'd be canned faster than Starkist tuna. I love it. Oh my God.
And you're so right.
It's so true.
It's so true.
So right. Oh my God. So now that kind of begs the question, did he work for Google or is he just like, did he lie about that too?
Any of the jobs.
Any of the jobs.
Real.
Okay, so there's no record or any indication at all of any past employment at all whatsoever anywhere, except for he did have a couple of small businesses listed. Like he did have at one point, he went to the state and said, I want to have a small business in my name or whatever, but there was never anything filed for it. Like there was never any profits from it. There was never anything successful from it unless he was, did stuff under the table or whatever. So to be honest with you, there is no record of how he's earned any income at all in his life.
Wow. So like
there's no like employment history, like literally nothing.
Oh my God.
Okay. So small businesses though, he has had some documentation of existing in employment, but not necessarily making any money.
Right. Like there's been no filing with with those particular businesses that say, like, how when you have a business, you have to turn stuff in that says like, I've earned money, and you have to turn in those documents and like file all the things that show what you've done with your business. And there's been nothing. Like there's nothing like this guy. Okay. I'm going to tell you, like, this is what it seems like to me, right? Is that
Mhm.
this guy is likely just for his whole life, like as a grown up, is just like selling weed out of this house that he doesn't own. Like, and that's his source of income, and that's it. Like, literally, that's it.
100%. I think that
Wow.
makes sense. So we know that he has not worked really anywhere in his adult life. So that kind of puts two and two together of like he probably is just a drug dealer. But did you find any like arrests or any kind
Oh, yeah.
of
Does he have a
stuff like
criminal
that?
record?
No criminal record, no criminal past, no liens, judgments, bankruptcies, no nothing. The fella
Thanks,
is a
Simon.
He's a good
child.
drug dealer.
He's a child. He's a
Nothing.
drug dealing child. He doesn't have adult record of it. Like you, okay. So you know how like when you get a driver's license when you're 16 and then when you're 18, like maybe you get like a secured credit card or something. Like there's something. Nothing.
Mhm.
Like this guy's never had nothing. Like he's never owned a car, a home, a credit card, a nothing. Like the guy just like literally he's a child.
Wow. So he's probably
Wow.
been doing this weed business forever, probably when he was a teenager now to now. So I guess this will also be a lie, but I'm going to ask anyways because other people will want to know and I want to know. Did he actually ever move or did he just say he was moving?
Okay, so that's a good question. There is no proof that he ever lived at another address, but that also goes to the fact that he's not an adult. So he could have moved somewhere else and like flopped on someone's couch and it's just not in records because if you sleep on someone else's couch and you don't register yourself there, you don't get mail there, if you're not registered to vote there, whatever the case is, then it's not going to register. So if he did move or if he did leave,
Mhm.
it's possible that he did, and there's just no record of it, but he never established legally residence anywhere else.
Yeah, he said he lived with an ex. And so now I'm kind of assuming that if that is true, he probably just did not have his name on the rent. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
that's really common for people like him who are kind of, what do you call them? Drifters, grifter. What do you call them whenever they're like, no, they don't have any record of anything. They just kind of, they're floppers. Like they just kind of flop on whoever's couch here and there, whatever.
Mm.
Like, you know, one of those people who just kind of, they're not really established anywhere like this fella. I think that it could be one of
Nomad.
those situations. So if that's true, if he did go stay with an ex or whatever, and, you know, maybe he was, it sounds like he doesn't really have much of an establishment. So like who's going to give him like a lease anywhere, you know? So if he did live with someone else,
Right.
his name likely was not on
Mm.
the property or whatever.
Where was he registered to vote? Like, can you find that information about everybody? Or was he
Yeah,
registered
that's all
like
public stuff.
address? So we know maybe that was in the same state where he was with Erica?
Yeah, but he wasn't registered to
Or do
vote.
we know? Okay, that makes sense.
Of course not.
There's no, I'm literally, he's like a 12-year-old. Like
We have
he
no
has
proof.
he has the background of a 12-year-old. Like there is no, he is not a grown up. He has not established anything like grown uppy. He's just not
So
like
there's
this.
no proof of the guy.
Praise the
I feel
lamb
like
that we're
we're gonna
done with him.
Yes. I think like
Ugh.
at the end of the day, it's a good thing that I asked all of those questions because that made him skedaddle. And if I hadn't had, you know, a friend kind of looking out for me and asking me to ask him these things, who knows how many more
knows?
lies could have come out of this relationship.
Because he didn't move for Google. We know that because he
We
didn't
know
work
that.
for Google. So he moved. If he did move, it was because you were on to him.
100%. If you move for Google, like Google's going to pay your moving expenses and they're going to do all that, which means that there's going to be record of you somewhere.
It really goes to show, ask the questions because it could mean safety for yourself, or it just could mean that you find the truth or not find the truth.
Yeah, if someone doesn't have anything to hide, if you're in the early stages of your relationship, the way they respond to these questions is going to tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, that's really
not to this
telling.
extent, but I've had like concerns at the beginning of a relationship that were out of left field, but they were so like, okay, let me like understand where you're coming from and explain to you
Mhm.
why that's not something to worry about. And because they didn't move at the drop of a hat or freak out at me or yell at me for staying out at dinner with my parents. That just like says so much. But it's normal to have concerns. It's not normal to respond to them the way that he did. And I'm so glad that you raised your concerns.
Yes, and believe your femtuition, as you guys always go back to, and it's true. Like,
yes,
if
girl.
I didn't feel it also.
You knew, like, I mean, it's nice
realized-
to know, like, for sure, but your gut knew.
And your femtuition has led to the femtuition of many others. Do you know that? That you going through this horrible thing led to a podcast?
It is the origin
helps some
story. You
peeps?
guys, this person is like the origin for the dating detectives, and that's all we'll say, but that's the truth, and that's so cool.
Shout out to Simon for that.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much.
We got
Simon.
one good
We love you
thing.
so much. Simon, if you want to come on and defend yourself, you're not invited. But
No.
also, I have so many questions.
I have so many questions for Simon. Like, I want to know. Well, I want to know, like, why? What are you doing? Like, you're almost 30. Like, what's going on, dude?
He's high.
He probably is 30 at this point, I think. So
I mean, maybe. Do we even know?
right.
We do. His age is.
Is his-
He was truthful.
Oh,
about
okay. His age is the same. So now I want to look at more of what our listeners. Also, sorry, my voice totally just cracked. I have a cold. It's fine. Now I want to look at our audience questions.
Oh, let's do
because
it.
people
What did
have
they
lots of
say?
things. Well, first, we definitely get a lot of people who watch our videos and don't necessarily listen to the whole episode, which is great. Love that. Welcome. But a lot of people are like, hey, I'm not on LinkedIn or I'm not on Facebook, or I just know people are going to even listen to this and be like, we all have different levels of comfort when it comes to privacy and putting ourselves on the grid. And I think there's just a huge distinction between having a little bit of discomfort with certain elements of the internet privacy and one, completely lying about it to the person you're dating. And he did have some, like, he had Instagram.
He had an
like, it's not
Instagram.
like he wasn't. And then, yeah, and I can't believe that he said that he didn't trust like Facebook and
Zuckerberg.
Instagram, and then like is still on it. Like, it's not
Right.
logical. But
This guy.
I just think that's in a distinction. Like, we understand that some people are not on social media. That does not mean that you are like Simon.
Mhm.
But I do think in this day and age, if you can't find any record of anyone on the Google machine, it's weird. And that's not to say that
Mhm.
it definitely means you're bad. It just means that, like, if someone raises an eyebrow when they're dating you, I don't think that's something bad. I don't think that's
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who are like you said, they're like, I make it a point not to show up online. Like, I make it a point to keep myself private. That does not mean we're not saying
Sure.
that, but we are saying that, like, it's so uncommon that if that's the case, it's gonna look a little weird. Like, we're just gonna
and you
think
just
you're
have
lying, and
to
it's
be
fine.
cool about it.
Yeah,
Right,
like, you just
own
have to be
it,
like,
but
oh, you
also-
know what? That is a common thing, is for people to be online. And when they're not, it just, it makes sense to question it. And I'm going to need you to be okay with that. That's all.
I don't know.
I also don't want to discount the amount of work my friend put in to find him on the internet. Like, it was a deep dive. She spent hours looking for him and found nothing. And that just goes to show, like, he
And then
really was
Mackenzie
not there.
did too.
Yes.
I'm telling you. And then I was like, okay, am I not finding anything because it's not there? And it's just so uncommon,
It's so uncommon,
Totally.
especially since he was on a dating app and had an Instagram. You would think there'd be something else.
Usually if you can find something when you Google yourself, or like, you can find something. There's something posted somewhere on, page whatever of the Google machine. And for this guy just not to be it's just no.
Well, yeah, if anybody is an expert on services that maybe you can use to wipe yourself as much as you can off the internet, let us know. We're
Yeah.
curious about all of everybody's insight on that. Because maybe
Yes.
he did some of that, but still, it's weird. Well, somebody commented, they said they did not listen to the episode. So I appreciate them admitting that, but please come listen. J.A. Fox, 2007 on Instagram. Personally, when I find out someone isn't on social media, it's a green flag. But what it sounds like here, without hearing the podcast, is that the person is hiding his identity. That's
Yes.
totally different. And that's exactly what we mean.
Like, I don't know. I don't think it's a green flag, but that's just my opinion.
Depends. Some people don't want to date comedians and podcasters who love attention, and I respect that. But you know what?
It's fine.
It's all right.
Whatever.
Okay, wait. We have a few like quick questions.
Okay.
Just Guessy wanted to know you, Erica, did you have cell phone reception when you were at his house? And then she wrote #stupid Simon.
Oh, that's a smart question. That's good.
#stupid Simon. You're right about that. I did have cell phone reception. He had an Android.
Oh, that's why. No.
Right.
That's
right.
why.
And I think in my state of mind, I was like, yeah, he has a different phone than me. So, which doesn't make sense. But obviously, that's kind of what I was telling myself to make sense of what he was telling me. So, yeah.
Well, because you were trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just was enjoying him. So I was just
of
make
course.
excuses. So, yeah.
Which is like totally understandable too.
I had service. I could text people. I would text my friends. Yeah. No. It's all bullshit.
Okay.
Boy, why you lying?
He's lying.
He's lying. All right. Brienne asked if he was really in the military. We have
Nope.
no
He was
proof that
not.
He was.
Probably not.
Not.
Somebody, Plens was like, I think he's married or hiding stalking charges. But nothing on marriage. No marriage licenses.
No charges. No marriage.
I also love Plens just commented, what was his Instagram? It's like, I wish we could tell you.
I wish.
But way to shoot your shot.
Just to be clear, like, he's not an ugly fella. Like, he's a pretty good looking guy. Just to be fair, he's hot, but like, I don't know.
Hot guys can be creepy, so beware.
Yeah.
Red flag. They're hot.
Total red flag.
What else? Well, whose name is his cell phone under? So Jen asked that. I don't know if that's like a good question. Jen, whose name is his cell phone under?
Oh, that's a good question. His cell phone's not even in his name.
What? Whose name?
No, the cell phone's under the same guy that owns the house.
Oh my God. He doesn't own
anything.
anything.
Daddy's paying for his cell phone.
He don't even have his own cell phone.
Of course. I mean, that's no shock there.
There is nothing in this guy's name. Not one single thing. Not one piece of mail. Not one debt collector. No, which I guess that's a green flag.
He can't have debt.
He's an invisible flag because he is invisible.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing.
So you guys, we're actually going to have a lying expert on the show in an upcoming episode.
And we're doing it largely because of this story, because we still don't fully have the answers to why he was lying. We can guess, but if we've learned anything from P.I. Mackenzie, we can't assume.
We do not assume.
I already knew he was a drug dealer, so it's like, why else? Why else would you lie about everything?
If you had to ask like an expert in, because this person, Molly's told us a little bit, is like he's an expert on pathological lying. So I don't know, what questions would you ask if you could talk to somebody about this case who was an expert on lying?
I mean, the main thing is always like the reason. Why would people lie about everything about themselves? I mean, obviously there's like insecurity is a big thing, but why else would be the reason? And also like his lies, they were pretty good lies. Like the coding thing that he told me about, I asked my friend who codes, she knew it. So it's like he knew these things about his lies. So it's like, how much research do liars put in?
Like the coding version of LinkedIn?
Yes.
He was like, oh, I'm on this. But yeah. So he had the
knowledge.
He did the research. Mm-hmm. He's a method actor.
He's a method actor.
I want to know how often are liars good liars, basically? Like they put in the work to make a good lie.
Well, and also, why would you lie to such an extreme? Mm-hmm. Like, why would you, I work for, like, why don't you say, oh, yeah, I work, like, and like, also, not to mention that, like, the house thing, that, like, that's all public record stuff. Like, that's easy to pull up. But why would you lie about something so easy to find out the truth on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm learning so much from even this episode. Like, yes, it is easy to find a lot of these things, but people don't necessarily know that. So I'm sure a lot of these liars have an ego enough to think they can get away with it. And,
sure.
Because why would someone lie? You know, somebody doesn't say, hey, this is my house. And my first thought is not liar.
Right.
Like, I don't assume people are lying about basic facts in their life. So I think we could probably get away with a lot more than we think we can.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Dealing with good people.
Yep.
I know. Mackenzie is good though. She knows when to doubt.
Oh, I doubt everything is fine.
Me too now. Me too.
Well, and that's unfortunate because it sucks that in situations, especially like this, it's like they have done the work to give you the doubt. And it's like now you're stuck with it. And that really sucks. Like that's such a shitty feeling.
Totally.
Well, how are you doing now? How long has it been again?
Yeah.
Well, only good things actually for me. So
yay!
Yeah, I learned a lot from this experience. I definitely was very trusting of people I didn't know very well. And I think that's probably why I was so attractive to him. Like he saw that I was very like naive and innocent. I mean, I was young, so
you were young.
It makes sense.
You're still young,
right?
But
still young, but
you've seen things.
Have
now.
learned a lot. Yeah, exactly. So I took a break from dating. I kind of, was figuring out my sexuality as I kind of talked about in the last episode, and started dating women and just kind of slowly got back into dating. And then now I've been in a really happy, awesome relationship for the past 7 months with a girl. And it's amazing. Yeah. And I'm so happy.
Yay.
And I trust her.
And I'm sure hopefully they've been like good in response to you sharing this kind of like past trauma, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's betrayal trauma that you're bringing into new relationships, but we all have our own thing.
Yeah, I definitely entered this relationship a lot slower. I didn't feel pressure. Like with him, it was very like a lot of pressure to be committed quickly. With my girlfriend now, it's like we took our time and we got to know each other, just normal dating, and just grew. And it was just the first time where I've really been able to have like a healthy relationship, because I was able to think about it in so much more of a different headspace of where it's like, I'm going to have this person earn my trust instead of just give it to them right away. And she's earned it.
It's almost like he wanted your validation. Like he wanted you to get serious because it validated him somehow. Like it was like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, if she's serious, then this is like validating her. I don't know how, but it just seems like that to me.
Yeah. It seemed like less about me and more about just having somebody, like having a girlfriend.
For sure. 100%.
He needed it.
And, to be honest, that was kind of my whole vibe with him as well. So we kind of gave each other that. But yeah, that's not my vibe anymore.
You just... Good. But I love that, because what you just said kind of made me... Like, this is an example of, obviously, I wish this didn't have to happen to anyone. But you honestly took what you learned from this awful experience and turned it into a healthier approach to relationships, rather than being like, I don't trust anyone, I can't find love. It's like, no, I can, and I can just do it differently. And that's like a beautiful
and you're not way
to come out of something like that.
Yeah. And I really just have the most supportive friends, and they have been with me through the ups and downs. And it's honestly, it's so nice for all of us to see me thriving. No.
Everyone's like, oh, we've been through it with her.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
especially after something like this. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And I still like men somehow, some way. Don't know. So it's definitely made me... They're still hot. They're still hot.
So hot.
It's true. So that it didn't make me like say no more to men. So it just really was him, like, and his whole thing. And I've learned so much. So I'm really happy
you said that
about your podcast as well, for teaching everyone else.
Oh, we're so grateful for you. Thank you.
I'm glad you said that, because I've heard definitely people be like, oh, you're only dating women because you like don't like men. Like you didn't find. It's like, no, that's like,
I'm actually just in a healthy relationship.
A little homophobic. Yeah. So, but that's a good point that it's, yes,
not all men.
That's great.
We're so happy for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Very
you
happy
guys.
for you.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to talk to this lying expert and get
I know, I am too. I feel like I have so many
brain.
questions. I'm going to gear them up.
So excited to hear it. Thank you guys so much for letting me come on and speak.
Thank you.
Whoa. No.
I know, right? So like, I kind of feel, I don't know if I feel like completely satisfied. I'm going to be honest with you, but you guys, this guy, there's nothing like, it's so hard to prove that something doesn't happen unless you can prove the opposite. And so this was a real doozy. This one took me forever to do so much research on.
I think it's like interesting and very fair that you've talked about how it makes sense why it's so difficult to prove someone is lying without having any first step in the direction of what the truth actually looks like. You, as a PI, as a very good PI, don't assume. I am an armchair sleuth, so I can assume as much as I damn well please. And
I'll assume as much as I want.
I mean, I think all of the findings that you had were pretty accurate.
Well, and sometimes like I feel like sometimes if there's one question, it's like benefit of the doubt. But when there's multiple things in question, it's like, girl, just let it go. We're done. We're done. Like this is not a coincidence anymore. We're done.
It shouldn't be that hard. Relationships should not be that hard, if anybody's wondering.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Like if you're asking that many questions, there's the more questions just lead to more questions. Get out. Like you're done here. But it sucks because I could see how, you know how it is, that honeymoon phase when you're with someone and it just feels really good. So I get
and
how,
you don't want to believe that someone is lying about every detail of their life. I mean, hey, he served his purpose. He might have been a good hookup, taught her some things about what she should bring into new relationships, and gave us a podcast. So
yeah,
we're going to focus on the positive.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
I loved how she talked about her new relationship and how like genuinely it taught her so much and set the stage for just taking it slower and being a little bit more like, I don't know, not over dramatizing everything and just taking your time. Like that changes. That's such a small change that people can make in relationships that I think makes a huge difference.
I agree. And I think that sometimes it's nice to have that closure, like just to know for sure, like, okay, I'm not crazy. This guy really was like not great. So I'm excited that we were able to kind of resolve that for her. And it sounds like she's moved on. So that's really great. I'm happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, and let us know what you thought of all the findings. I know a lot of you are going to be a little disappointed that he was not lying about his name. We all thought
I was disappointed. I was like, for sure, that's not his name.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, he's an idiot. He should have lied about his name, but
he should have used a different name.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, we want to hear what you think. And also, I feel like if you're anything like me, you're going to be like, well, that was crap. Like I was hoping to find like something of the total opposite of everything, but I couldn't. He's just not an established adult. Like he's just not, he hasn't established himself anywhere financially or there's just nothing. So, I mean, good on him, I guess.
Yeah.
He coded himself off the internet.
Good for him, man. We need to use that skill somewhere more useful.
I know. I could code people away.
In real life. Sometimes I just want to be like, boop, 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 delete.
You're done. Goodbye.
So tell us what you thought at our Instagram, Dating Detectives Podcast, or message us, comment on TikTok, on Facebook. You can email us, investigate at datingdetectivespod.com.
No, Dating Detective Pod.
I'm sorry. I have the Instagram.
It's investigate at datingdetectivepod.com. Or you can just message us. We get those messages too. Like just message us, send us just write us a letter. It's fine. I know so many of you have so many stories to share. It's on our website too, the datingdetectivespodcast.com. That one has an S.
We also have Patreon fun things going on. So if you're on our Patreon and you haven't checked in for a while, we posted a Patreon episode last week with a few stories that have been submitted. And we're asking our Patreon subscribers, our Patreoners, to vote on the ones that they want to hear more extended episodes about.
So we kind of gave like a synopsis. Like we gave a teaser for a couple different stories and we were like, oh, holy crap. Like we can't we
want all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of a synopsis of like a couple different stories. And then we posted a poll, like, which one do you want to hear more about? Because we're going to contact those people and be like, hey, okay, you've got to tell us this whole story because I'm sorry, what to the what? So go on there and that's your opportunity to vote. It's only $5 a month to subscribe and you get 2 bonus episodes a month and you can participate in stuff like this where you're
choosing
You
choosing
you
what
get to
we
choose like
do.
the stories and stuff like that and really connect with us on the forum. So that's been really fun. I've really loved connecting there. So go join the Patreon. You can do that on thedatingdetectivespodcast.com.
I'm excited to see what people pick. It's still there, so you have time. Go vote.
My vote is all of them.
I know, me too. Although the Dogfish Daddy one, I definitely want to talk to that person. That
Oh
might be
yeah,
my-
Dogfish Daddy.
But all of
you
them.
guys.
Yeah, that's
I
all
saw
we'll
a shirt.
say.
I saw a video or a picture the other day on Facebook, and it said this guy was wearing a shirt, and it said "Dad in the sheet" or "Dad in the streets, Daddy in the sheets," and I was like, "Oh, that's hot."
That's hilarious, except for the
I'm getting
fact
that
that
for my
like,
husband.
but if my dad wore that shirt, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm mad that I even said that out loud.
Why did you go there?
I hate that. That's the only thing about that shirt because I'm like,
You're not supposed to
they
think
have
about your own
children.
dad. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
but anyone
She's
who
ruined.
wears that has a child that has to deal with that. I'm
Stop!
fucked up. Guys,
I'm done. We're
on
done.
drugs. Not bad drugs, like cold medicine.
She's very, very sick. Anyways, make sure that you share our podcast with your friends. We really appreciate it. We recently hit 1 million downloads on our podcast, and that is such a big thing for us. So that's a milestone. We're really excited for that. So just keep sharing. We really appreciate it when you guys share our podcast with your friends.
We love you guys. Thank you. We'll be back next week.
And hopefully Hannah will be sounding a little bit better with her drugs, her Dayquil drugs. And as always, you guys, trust your femtuition.